Hi everyone, this is Raymond Wood from the Raymond Wood podcast. A big thank you for joining us, and again, back-to-back episodes, we've got a football and superstar and icon. The person sat to my left, everyone will pretty much know as Sammy Lee. For those younger ones who may not know, and I've been explaining to everyone how big a player both Phil Thompson and Sammy Lee are. So a welcome to the programme, Sammy. Thank you for joining us.
And to all your listeners, and really, so a pleasure to be here, mate. It really is.
So this is going to go back to all of our listeners. We've got listeners in Australia, the USA and the Middle East. And for anyone who is watching, remember, guys, to keep this going because it is free. We don't charge for it. You've got to make sure you like, comment and subscribe. Now, for those that don't know a little bit about Sam's background, we'll just put some clarification on your background. So you played in a little-known competition called the Champions League. How many times did you win it, Sammy?
Twice. We won twice, 1981 and 1984. As you know, it was the European Cup then.
Yeah.
It's since been rebranded, renamed for obvious reasons to make it more of a league. But back in the day, it was the European Cup, and you could only qualify for that by winning your league. Yeah. You didn't have to finish fourth or fifth or whatever, or third or second. You had to win the league to qualify for the European Cup then. And
that's what we were saying to our listeners and some of our players on our programmes, that you actually have to understand how hard it was to win it then, because you had to win it. And it was a straight knockout. It wasn't, you could lose 2 group games and you could sneak in. So it's a testament, isn't it?
It is. But I mean, it's not easy to win now, neither, no, you know. But no. I mean, back in the day, as you so rightly point out, and we mentioned, that you had to win. You had to win your league to get through. And once you're in there, it was a straight knockout. You know, 2 legs home and away. You know, there was no, as you say, second team. You could never lose one game. You may be able to lose the first leg, but you'd have to mean you're really going to the second leg having to, you know, obviously win by more goals than them. Maybe if you lose 1-0, you have to win by 3. You know what I mean? Yeah. 2. So it's not easy now, but it certainly wasn't easy then.
And then to put a bit of perspective on it, it's had many names over the years, whether you call it the First Division title, the Premier League, the Barclays Premier League. But how many times did you win a league title with Liverpool?
I won 5 at Liverpool, yeah.
So for all of our listeners, especially the younger ones, so someone who's won 2 Champions Leagues and 5 league titles, it's a very impressive stat. So you know a little bit about football.
Just a little bit, yeah. I'm still learning as well, Ray.
So really interesting talking to you off camera before and just getting a little bit of your background, but just for all of our listeners and followers, we'll start back from your early life. Where was it you grew up in Liverpool?
Yeah, we're in the centre of town, the ghetto if you like, and I was born literally a 3-minute walk from here. Wow. A place called the Bull Ring, which is still standing today, and fantastic place to grow up, hard place to grow up, but it was in a certain place where you were challenged every day, you know, as soon as you stepped out the door, but that helps to make you, you know, it really did with me. I am what I am because of where I was born, not in spite of. So I'm very, very proud to say that I'm from the centre here
of Liverpool. So can you remember from an early age when you really started just getting into football, you know, when it was just probably just fun? Can you remember the age roughly?
Yeah, well, I mean, football's always fun to me, right? I've got to be honest with you. If it's not fun, why do it, you know? But I've got to be honest with you, and it's an old cliche. The moment I could walk, I wanted to play football, and I did do, you know. And as I said to you, for me, it was just something that from the moment you wake up, it's what you wanted to do.
Yeah. So roll on to obviously when you started to then recognise and realise that you were going to maybe possibly do something with football. When was it when it started to get really serious, when you first got picked up?
Well, it's strange because I play for my local school here, I say, which is literally 3 minutes away, and I got chosen for the city side then, the primary level, which is obviously below the junior level, and we used to play to qualify that you have to be of a certain ilk, you have to be of a certain quality, you know. And I said to represent your city at that age was terrific. So obviously people knew about you then. You're playing your school team, you're playing your schools, your city schools team. So everybody was aware of you. The issue then was that I went to a grammar school, which is quite a bus ride away from here, and we had fantastic facilities there, fantastic. But they didn't allow you to play for your city team. They did not allow you to represent the city schools.
Wow.
Well, what they thought is that you're representing SFX, St Francis Xavier's. That was enough. And I have to say to you, our facilities were fantastic.
Yeah.
They were best either side of Melwood and Belfield, which, as you know, were the two training grounds of Liverpool Football Club and Everton Football Club, respectively.
I remember that I was born in '79, so a little bit after you, but I remember like going to school at Priory Road Comprehensive, which then became Anfield Comprehensive, right smack bang in between Goodison and Anfield. Yeah. And probably SFX and De La Salle. I think they were the two schools everyone used to always talk about. Like, you wanted to go there if you wanted to play football.
Correct, you know, and they're very good sporting school. They really were. They played all, you know, played rugby, they played cricket, they played all sports. And as I say, they had the facilities to go along with it. SFX still now have fantastic pitches. They're still the same pitches. They haven't sold the land off developers, which I think De La Salle may have done. And so, as you see, they've kept their grounding, they've kept their tradition, and it's still fantastic playing fields now. That's phenomenal.
It's a testament to them. So when was it when you sort of first discovered that like Liverpool were interested, and what year was that in and around?
Well, what had happened is I'd played, I say, a couple of finals for the schools. You played at the Echo Cup, which I'm sure you've heard of, and the Martindale Cup, and then the Senior Shield. So again, as you know, although we weren't allowed to play for the city side, at all our games, there was always scouts. So these scouts are always aware. And in fact, it did me a favour, to be perfectly honest with you, because it kept me away from the temptations of these big clubs, you know, because we promise you the earth and it doesn't materialise. And I'm sure we may get onto it now, you know, a little bit later. But now, at this moment in time, in the Premier League, 99.5% of people who are brought into clubs don't make it.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible, terrible stat.
Yeah.
And it really is. So the fallout rate is and was huge. So I was kept away from all that. And then what happened is, obviously, when I'm playing in these finals, a man called Tom Saunders, which Phil may have mentioned to you before, fantastic guy. He was originally a school teacher, but he was a Liverpool scout. He knew, he had his ear to the ground. He knew every talent that was in and around the city. And they just asked me to come in and train on Tuesday and Thursdays, and the rest is history, to be honest with you.
So how old was you then? You was 14?
I was 14 when I went there and did a bit of trial and a bit of Tuesday and Thursday. But I actually signed for Liverpool in 1974 as an apprentice. So if you think about you're talking about being 15, 16 then, when I joined as an apprentice. And I'll never forget the year, because it was 1974, as I say. I went to watch Liverpool play Newcastle in a fantastic cup final. Phil played in it. We won 3-0. He was playing up against Malcolm MacDonald, and he made sure he had him in his pocket all game. You know, so that was the start. And then that was in the May, and in the June I signed for Liverpool as an apprentice.
So when you were training there, just those 2 nights a week, Tuesday, Thursdays, was that down at Melwood?
Down at Melwood, yeah. That
must have. Did you have to pinch yourself that when you were there?
Yeah. Every day, every time I was there, you have to pinch yourself, you know. And I was trying to keep it quiet, because you weren't really allowed to do it, because because of the school. They didn't encourage you, because what they felt is that you were doing enough with them, both in terms of physical work, sport and work, but also it was a very academic school. And they wanted you to continue your studies, which again was right, because again, for the reason I mentioned before, we all want to be a footballer, we all want to be a professional, but the fallout rate is horrendous. So you need to have a background, an educational background, and thankfully, as I said to you before, because I was at such a fantastic school, that allowed me to be able to do that and develop my skills alongside that.
It's so pleasing you said that, because we deal a lot with players from Australia, the US and the Middle East, and we have a program that we run called the Professional Player Pathway, but it's all designed around, if you don't make it as a player, education's paramount. So any players we bring across internationally, we bring a lot to Stephen Gerrard's academy.
Yes, Which is a terrific academy, by the way, Ray. Forgive me interrupting, sorry, mate.
And it's one of them things that is paramount to me, as well as having that plan B or C, because we were just talking about it with Phil Thompson in the previous podcast, was that I was never good enough to be a player, and I knew that, but it was Phil, when I was the age of 16, in the Falcon pub, said to me, like, you need to get into maybe coaching or physio. There's loads of jobs in football.
More now, more than ever now.
It's crazy, So one of the things that I wanted to touch on with you, and we've kept them slightly a little bit different with the podcast, but it was about looking at the challenges and the triumphs as a young player. What was one of the challenges that you'd had developing as a young player in Liverpool, but how did you overcome that?
Well, challenge? I think it just, folks, I'm standing up, right? Okay, not a lot of people know that. So obviously, I've been vertically challenged. Yeah, you know, I'm rotund as well. You know, so cherubic, if you like. You know, so my whole physical appearance was a challenge. Yeah, you know, because someone who looks like me, as small, as rotund as me, shouldn't really get on in the game. But I was very, very fortunate that fantastic parents, fantastic friends, and when you join Liverpool Football Club, you become part of the fraternity, part of the family, and whatever deficiencies I had, I worked on. Obviously, I couldn't get taller.
Yeah.
You know, but I certainly worked on my weight. I certainly worked on my weights.
Yeah.
I certainly worked on my physical appearance. And although it's gone now, but obviously back in the day, you had to make sure that you have a capability to go and compete. And thankfully, because I was small, because I was quite physical, I was able to withstand an awful lot of the pressure that came with being a smaller guy in this big league.
Yeah, it's a testament to you and the journey that you've been on. And it's one of the big things that we speak about is that I went down this journey 20 odd years ago looking at, was talent made or born? I think we've proven time and time again it is definitely made, and it's all about consistency and hard work. And I think, you said it yourself, some of the physical things that some players struggle in different sports, but I think that's what really drives you.
You're right, Ray, and I've got to be, and also there's another element that's required, which is luck.
Yeah.
We all require a little bit of luck, because there were better players than me, for sure. There were bigger players than me, for sure. They may not have had the determination I had. They may not have had the attitude I had. But I certainly had a lot of luck along the way as well. Yeah. But again, you need luck, for sure. But I can't emphasise enough the part that my parents and my friends played in my development, both in terms professionally and as a person.
And so when you say mum and dad, you mean as well like that support element, getting you to training, getting you to games?
Well, we used to be honest with you, yeah, we used to get ourselves to the games, because at the time, they used to come and watch me, but they were determined that, I was to make my own way, yeah. So I'd get the bus to most of our school games, certainly to the Tuesday and Thursday, because they didn't want to interfere. I think, again, forgive me, an awful lot of the issues we have now are parents as well, aren't they? You know what I mean? Yeah. Where you come along, young coaches are there, and the parent. And I don't know if when you take, for instance, when you take your kids to school, the parents don't go in to see what's going on. Yeah, and when they take them to training, the parents stay and watch, which maybe it's because of the distances and what have you. But I think once you make sure you're leaving your kid to a coach, I think you need to let the coach.
Yeah.
Let him coach, at the end of the day, because he's there for a reason. He has an ability, otherwise the football club wouldn't have brought him in as a coach. So for me, it's important that you let the coach.
That's one of the big things that I think they really pride themselves on in England, and I think a lot of it was through the reforms with the EPPP, and they put the barriers up now, and parents have to stay away, and it's really well done, I think, in England. But one of the big things we've got in Australia, there's far too much parents' involvement.
I started the conversation, and I wasn't too sure whether I should have gone there, to be honest with you, because again I wasn't too sure what the audience were aimed at. But now that we've opened that kind of way, yeah, for sure, and parents do it for a number of reasons. A lot of it's because of love and they want to support the kids. But it's difficult, and as I say, you take them to school, you leave them.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you come to football, because I had a situation, I'll be honest with you, where I won't mention the club was that, but you know the club, and the club was fantastic. It used to have a presentation nights every end of season. The awards, everything was fine. So the awards got given out by the coaches of each age group, and then the next day, a certain age group organised a private prize given for their kids that year, over in a restaurant across the way, and didn't invite the coach. And I just thought, well, you've already had the prize given the night before.
Why
and maybe because they want to root their one,
yeah.
And they had a difference in how they marked or how they judged to be player of the year. But I just thought that was a little bit of a contradiction, and it was quite disappointing. But I think, listen, the parents have got to support the kids. There's no doubt about that, And I don't admonish any parent for doing that, because they need to support the kids.
Yeah.
But I think at some point you've got, as I said before, I was left to get to the training myself.
Yeah.
They wanted me to have that discipline to get myself organised, get myself prepared and ready to go and do the things, rather than being, because it is hard for the parents as well. They may have 2 or 3 kids, and they have to go to different sports and whatever. So it is hard, So I was certainly given the accountability of the autonomy to go and be able to do it myself and travel myself, which again helped develop me.
Yeah.
Would you one day like to be a professional football player? Would you like to be part of our pro player pathway? What is the pro player pathway? It's an opportunity for all Australian football players aged between 10 and 23 who want to join us to become the next professional football player. On the pro player pathway, you get to join me and my team free of charge to an event all around Australia. When you join me, we're going to teach you the secrets of football in Europe. And one day, maybe, you could be gracing the Champions League final. Guys, over the next 12 months, we're going to be coming around all the major cities in Australia. And when we come around all the major cities, we're going to be running our free events everywhere we go. So guys, what have you got to lose? Nothing. It's a free event. It's for boys and girls aged 10 to 23. And I'm going to teach you the secrets of becoming a top European football player. Oh, and one final thing. We're going to be giving away 20 scholarships to join me on this program of a lifetime.
We're going to move on a little bit and we won't get too deep into it, but there's not many players who are able to have such a really successful playing career and then have gone on and had such a good and amazing coaching career. But I think you took a little bit of a different, like that real like first team coach's role. And I remember doing my coaches and badges in 2007 and 8 and 9, and the whole talk of the town in the English FA was 2 or 3 coaches who were doing a lot of amazing stuff in the background and were helping the head coaches, and your name was constantly banded around all the time. And I mean, you've worked at Liverpool, you worked at Bolton, you've done work with England.
I worked at Everton as well.
We won't say that.
Why not?
No, we will. But was there anything that you really carried in from your playing days into the coaching?
Yeah, for sure. And the first thing is enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to do it. I wanted to be a sponge. I wanted to learn off everybody. I wanted to listen. You know, it's strange because when I joined as a reserve team coach, and quite strangely, Phil, you had him beforehand, I took his role because Graham Souness came in, and for whatever reason he wanted to change the role. So unfortunately Phil lost his job and I stepped in. Now, I mention that because that guy, Phil Thompson, who you just spoke to, just I interviewed before, he had every right to dislike me because I took over his job. He had every right to blank me, if you like. Nothing could be further from the truth. And that job meant everything to him because he is Liverpool through and through, his whole family, as is mine, by the way. So I know how much it hurt him, but I cannot say, and it tells you the strength of the guy and his family, his wife, Marg, and his boys, that they helped me immensely when I took the role.
That's phenomenal.
Phenomenal, and it tells you, it shows you the strength of the guy. It shows you the strength of the guy and his family. So I needed that to be mentioned. But my point being is that I get introduced into the role, and what happened in the past is basically you come and you do what the boot room did, you know, basically follow on, which I started doing. But Graham said to me one day, he called me in his office, said, "Sammy, doing a great job." I said, he said, "Well, listen," he said, "just let you know," he said, "your job won't depend upon this, but," I went, oh,
Here we go.
There we go. And he said, "I think you should start taking up your coaching qualifications, your coaching badges." And I'll be honest with you, at the time I was so nervous because you know how difficult they are. I was certainly out of my comfort zone. I was one of the very first at Liverpool to take on a coaching qualification. So I was nervous. And as I said to you when he said, "Your job doesn't depend upon it," but that but was huge. But I'd have to say to you, it was the best thing that happened to me.
Yeah.
It was the best thing that, you know, you said, once you embark on the qualifications, once you embark upon that journey, it's magnificent. The people you get to know, the experiences I've been able to go and watch other coaches train and coach and put on sessions. It was the best thing I ever did.
It's the thing I found when I done my UEFA B at Bolton Wanderers, ironically, and I failed it twice.
Great club, by the way.
Phenomenal.
Great club.
And it was amazing, like, it was the first thing in my life that I failed at, but I wanted to go again and again because it was a passion. Yeah. Because I knew I was never good enough to be a player. And then the UEFA A was the same. I failed it 4 times, but it was like something I didn't really take to heart. I just knew I had to keep going.
But that shows you the strength of you.
Yeah.
Because failure in any form, it hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts. It's a kick. It's a kick in the teeth. So for you to be able to go back, it shows you your strength of character as well. It really says, I'm not patronising you, but I know I know how difficult they are. And as you were saying before, you know, I thought I'd failed.
Yeah.
And imagine that if I'd failed.
Yeah.
You know, going back to your job doesn't depend upon it, but
and it did in the future, didn't it? Because it changed with all the reforms.
It just went totally different, you know. And I'm not too sure I'll be able to do it now. To be perfectly honest, it's like the driving test. I don't think I'll be able to do that now. But thankfully, I've gone past that. But to go back to your initial point, I think one of the biggest things I took over from my playing career into the coaching was my enthusiasm.
Your enthusiasm, yeah. I think if you've got that, it's a good starting point, isn't it?
Well, I think so, because, I mean, people say to me about when's your next job? Well, I say, well, this is not a job. Yeah. This is not a job. What I've done, it wasn't a job. What you do, it's a vocation.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't sound too grandiose to your viewers and your listeners. I hope it doesn't, but that's how I took it on board. It was a vocation, you know. And I have to say, I've never worked a day in my life because I've loved every minute of it, even the defeats.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of pressure goes with them. You know, I've had a couple of sackings as well. You know, which hurts. As you said before, you failed on 2 or 3 occasions, but I want to keep on going back.
Yeah.
I want to keep on knocking on the door. I want to do it again.
Yeah. When you look back at your coaching jobs you've held over the years, whether it be club and international, is the one that you've really, really enjoyed because of maybe some of the challenges you had going through that journey?
Yeah, I have to say I enjoyed every single one of them. Yeah. Every single one of them, honestly. Obviously, getting the chance to go to Liverpool as a coach was, you know, it was a dream for me to play for the team.
Yeah.
And once you lose that, you know, for a number of reasons, to actually go back and be able to coach them, as Phil Shaw said, it was a dream. It really was, you know. Yeah. But I will have to say to you, you know, I've got to be honest here, the Everton one, which we touched on before, I got a lot of criticism for it.
Yeah.
Reds and Blues, a lot of criticism. But as we said before, to be perfectly frank with you, right, I've got a number of passions in my life. The family's the main one.
Yeah.
You know, the family's the main. I love music. I love humour. I love football, obviously. I love Liverpool Football Club, love Liverpool Football Club. And my passion also is for the city.
Yeah. I
love the city. And I have to say to you, when I lost one passion by getting sacked by Liverpool, I wanted to continue, whether that be with Crystal Palace, whether that be with Bolton, whether that be with West Brom, and certainly whether it be with Everton.
Yeah. You
know, and I was asked to join, and me and Big Sam were asked to join Everton Football Club. And again, I wanted to continue my passion, which one of my passions was football. At the time we joined them, Everton was 16th in the table.
Yeah.
16th. We got them to 8th.
Yeah.
We got them to 8th. 16th in dire danger of being relegated.
Yeah.
We got them to 8th. And I have to say to you, for me, because I love the city as much as I love everything else, it's crucial that we have 2 teams in the Premiership.
100%.
Crucial. And I have to say to you folks, for me, to be part of getting Everton safe from 16th to 8th, it's one of the biggest achievements of my coaching career, alongside Sam Allardyce. And every coaching job has its successes, has its down moments, you know. And I've got a lot of fantastic moments at Liverpool Football Club, keeping Crystal Palace up from being relegated, you know. And but to actually keep Everton in the Premier League,
it's huge.
It was huge, and I'd say it helped me. I'd say it developed the other passion which I mentioned: the family, the sport, humour, music, but the city. And this city needs the 2 teams in for sure.
It is. It's funny, we were talking on one of the previous podcasts, and we were talking about Liverpool as a city is the city of football. And in Australia, in the US, players who work with families, they all want to come here and they all want to live here, they want to breathe it. And it's funny that I'm proud to be from Liverpool. I'm proud my family's from Anfield and Kirby, but I always had this instinct to get out and travel a bit.
Yeah.
But it's ironic now, I found myself where I was in my most unhappiest time of my life at 18 in Liverpool, because it was just one of them moments in my life where I didn't feel like I was pushing forward. But now I've got my life sorted and I've coached for over 20 years, and now coming back and bringing Aussies and Americans to Liverpool, I love it.
Fantastic,
I absolutely love it.
Fantastic.
Like, I jump up and down.
I can see that. I can see that from the moment I met you before. And again, I'm not patronising. And that's what you say about enthusiasm. You know right away with people. Yeah. You know the look in the eyes. You know, you don't have to be a Philadelphia lawyer to suss it out. You know, and certainly I get that. I get the enthusiasm, and I hope that comes across with me as well. Because as I say to you, for me, when you're imparting your knowledge onto young kids, onto young players, onto senior players, one thing I think to get that message across, I think it's how you project that image. You know what I mean? How you project that message, and for me, certainly by the enthusiasm that I hope I have.
Yeah,
and continue to have. I hope that makes it a little bit easier for me to get my message across.
So as a coach, whether it's at international or a club level, when we speak about winning mentality, how do you instill that in players and to try and help some of our players listening in who want to just get some little tips? How have you done that over the years?
Well, I've always been upfront. I've always been honest. I've always been transparent. You know, I've always tried to be genuine with them, because you know yourself, players at any level, they suss you out. Yeah. They suss you out. And if you're not being honest, if you're not being sincere, then they get that right away. Yeah. And that's all I can ever be. You know, and all I ever want of these players, like myself when I was a player, is to be a sponge. always want to listen, always want to better yourself, always want, on a daily basis, always want to improve. Be the better version you can be on a daily basis. I don't agree with the fact that anyone thinks they can turn up on, if the game's on a Saturday morning, and just flick a switch.
No.
It can't do. You've got to prepare that throughout the week.
Yeah.
And every day of that week, all I ask of each and every player is to be the better version of them than what they were yesterday.
Yeah.
And in that way, you don't always win.
Yeah.
You don't always win, but by improving yourself, you've got a chance of winning. And for me, that's crucial. In any walk of life, any business, but certainly in our game, be better than what you were yesterday.
Yeah.
When you walk into that training facility, at whatever time or whatever level, once you leave that training facility, then if you have applied yourself, if you've listened, if you have been a sponge, and if you have improved, then for me, job half done then.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I remember growing up as a youngster, and Dad was obsessed with you and Graham Souness. And one of the things he installed in me and my brother, it was all around mentality and leadership. And he said, whatever you go and do in your life, he said, you've got to be like Sammy Lee, you've got to be like a Graham Souness. He said, no matter what the circumstance, they just turn up on the pitch and they go, and they leave themselves, their heart on the pitch.
Well, Graham for me, and me and Phil speak all the time, Phil Thompson, and for different reasons, the guy is the best guy I've ever known in football.
Yeah.
My hero is Ian Callaghan,
who
I was having lunch with yesterday. But the best person I've ever been alongside was Graham Souness. Off the pitch and on the pitch. The man is a leader personified.
Yeah.
He's got everything about him. We went to an awful lot of tough, hostile places in Europe and in England and in Britain, but with him alongside you, we felt huge. You felt, it doesn't sound arrogant, we felt invincible. We got beat on a number of occasions, but we always went out. We never feared anybody. Anybody. That's down to the mentality that was instilled in us by the coaching staff, but certainly by players alongside me, i.e. Phil Thompson, Graham Souness. Them guys were just magnanimous. They really were. And for me, I'll give you a testament of how Graham was. Played alongside him for years. He'd pull me up when I was down. He'd make sure. And we got beat by Everton in an FA Cup fourth round replay, and his own goal, sadly, by Avi Cohen, who sadly has since passed away. And so you get beat by your local rivals. I had my first house then, so I was on my own. I didn't want to leave the house.
No.
Didn't want to leave the house. Being a local kid, I don't, we've been beaten by Everton in the FA Cup. He gets a knock on the door the next morning on a Sunday morning, and it's Graham. He said, come on. I said, come on, we're going down to the old... Now, the Oladini at the time was the epicentre of where everything happened. When we had new players, they used to come to the Old Inn to stay, you know what I mean? Yeah. They had a fantastic restaurant and a fantastic bar in there, and a fantastic gym and sauna. So I said, where are we going? He said, we're going to the Old Inn, we're going to the sauna. So, he knew, and I knew, that everybody in Liverpool would be in there at the time. All the people who make the noises, good and bad, they'd be in there. So I said, we just got. He said, we're going down there. We're going to go and face them. And he took me down there, and we were in that sauna, honestly. And we were there, and I wanted to get out. So I was not only as a roasting out, I was embarrassed as well. And he said no. And we went. It was like falling off a bike. We got straight back on it. And honestly, it did me the world of good, because once I'd faced whatever criticism was coming, then I could face anything. Yeah. And it just shows you the measure of the man. He was huge in every shape and form. Really was.
It shows you. One of the things I think I've learned, and I was very fortunate to work with a guy called Jason Whiff, and his dad was Peter Whiff. So I done my first couple of badges with Jason, and as you probably know, he's a coach educator for England FA, and that was one of the things he taught me. I'll never forget it in me level 2, going back many years ago, and he said, Ray, you've got to understand there's coaches on the sideline, but there's also, as a player, you've got 10 players around you who are coaches as well, and you learn off them. He said, and you can learn 2 types of things off those players, what to do and what not to do. You learn off lazy players, not to be lazy, but you can learn off hard-working players.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
So Graham must have been a big influence on all the players.
Well, he certainly was on me. Other people have to say, I know he was. But that's for them to say that. But certainly, right, for me, that guy, and I make no apology for repeating it, he was the man for me.
Yeah.
The man. To be honest, you know what? He even smelled better than all of us. he did. He smelled of success. Yeah. Honestly, he dressed better. He had the guy.
Yeah. He had a bit of a, was it a nickname, Charlie or something?
Yeah. for a number of reasons.
So, a little bit rolling on, obviously, we'll sort of backpedal from the coaching, but European successes is the one in particular that really sticks out. Was it the first one you won? Was it the second one? Was it?
Well, it's amazing because a couple of stories on both of them, you know. I mean, the first one, because my first one, obviously it was huge for me. It was huge for me. But the strange one thing about that, it was the semi-final.
Yeah.
You know, because we're playing Bayern Munich in the semi-final. Again, as we mentioned before, 2 legs. The first leg was at home, 0-0. So you have to go to the Olympic Stadium in Munich, obviously.
Wow. Yeah.
And they think they've won.
Yeah.
And we knew that because what they made a massive mistake because they put out the directions of how to get to Paris on the seats.
Wow.
So they think the game's won. And that news started filtering down to us, you know. So right away, not that we needed any more incentive, but if we did, they certainly give us it that day. And it was amazing because they're a fantastic team, fantastic football club. It's an institution. Yeah. They still are, you know, and it was amazing. And we're there, and we've gone out on to do our warm-up, as we always do, come back in. And we're ready to go out, and as you know, UEFA, you normally go out and you line up together, UEFA delegate wishes and you go to come out. Just as we were about to leave the dressing room, just as we were leaving the dressing room. So we've had our warm-up, we had the training session the night before, just as we were about to leave the dressing room to go and line up to go and kick off, Bob Paisley just from nowhere said, chaps, we're going to make a bit of a change tonight. So we're making a bit of a change. He said, listen, the first leg, they did a bit of a deal on us, you know, and they were a fantastic team, 0-0. He said, and the playmaker was Paul Brighton. We need to nullify him. We need to snuff him out. We need to stamp him out. We need to make sure that he's not the effect that I had in the first leg. He said, so we're going to go man-to-man on him.
Wow.
Which Liverpool had never done before. Because Liverpool, again, without sounding arrogant, we knew our own strengths, we knew our weaknesses, we knew the strengths of the opposition, and we knew the weaknesses of the opposition. But we always had a healthy respect for what we could do. And it's never been done before. And he just said, it was amazing. He just said, yeah, we're going to go man-to-man on him. So we're lined up to go out, and we're all looking at each other. Like, you could hear the gasp of disbelief, you know. He said, so next thing is blue. So next thing, Page just said, yeah, and we're going to put Sammy on Paul Brighton. We're going to man-to-man Paul Brighton with Sammy Lee. And again, we're all in amazement. We're looking, really, you know, we hadn't done it before. We hadn't practiced it, you know. But again, it was amazing because, I kid you not, I went out and I was determined, given this role, that he was never going to get a kick that night.
Yeah.
He never got a kick. I never got a kick. But it helped us progress too, because we won. Fantastic performance from Howard Gale, who come on. He came on for, I think it was Kenny who got injured, or maybe, and he comes on, ran them ragged. They kicked them all over the place. We had to take him off because he was getting, you know, getting kicked that much. He was going to get sent off. But as a result, Brighton never got a kick. And that was a major reason, one of the major reasons why we got through to the final in Paris. And again, fantastic man management, because think about it, if they'd have told us that the night before or the 2 days previous in Melwood, I'd have been very, very nervous. And I know all my colleagues would have been very, very nervous because we hadn't done it before. Yeah. Maybe we would have thought, well, hold on, that's not like Liverpool. Maybe, are we struggling here? Are we nervous? Yeah. So it was a fantastic bit of man management by Paisley and his backroom staff, because never had time to think about it. Yeah. Never had time to lose sleep over it. Never had time to worry about it. I just knew what I had to do.
It was a masterstroke, wasn't it?
For sure, right.
I remember being told that by Dad. Like, Dad still works now. He's in his mid to late 60s and he's a heavy goods driver, but there's a lot to be said about an armchair supporter, but he knew everything inside out, and he said it was an absolute masterstroke by Paisley.
It was, and listen, not everyone can go to the game.
No.
You know, you can't, now you can't get tickets now.
Listening on Radio City, I think.
Exactly, and I have to say to you, a lot of the times, they're well better informed than us.
Yeah.
Because they don't forget, we're looking at it from our angle.
Yeah.
they're looking at it from their different angle. And also,
yeah,
exactly, it's like when you go in the pub.
Yeah.
I hear some fantastic takes on games.
Yeah.
You know, really do, and it's different takes.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing about Liverpool Football Club. They never take on yes men.
No.
They never take on sycophantic people, because if you think about it, if you've got 2 or 3 people telling you the same thing, you're only getting told the one thing.
Yeah.
But if you've got 4, 5 or 6 people telling you different things,
Yeah.
you're getting different views.
Yeah.
Now, you then have to filter them and sort out which is best for you. But that's certainly more progressive for me than just the one sycophantic voice that you can hear. Yeah. So it was. I think people say armchair supporters. I think I dislike that term. I've got to be honest with you, because again, for a number of reasons, people can't get to the game, you know, and I still respect their views nonetheless.
Yeah, yeah, it's. I think there's so much, it goes back again to everyone wanting to come to the city of football and to be Liverpool and be around it. Just you said it yourself, like told you this afternoon I'm going to go out with my brother and my family and just have a bit of dinner and that, but just
brilliant
conversations, all we'll talk about is football.
The
game coming up this weekend, the game against Luton the other night, that's all we'll talk.
And
I've got 2 nephews and a niece, and the nephew's 10 and 14, and the 10-year-old, he will just do nothing except talk football to me. He thinks, and it's...
And the niece are better. The women are more into than us, you know, or as much into it as sure, you know, but I agree, and I think I'd love to be put on that table, by the way, Ray. Sounds great.
Now, with talking about, like, when I was doing my coaching badges, and the talk of the time, right through the English FA, was you, and you were doing a lot of things in it as a modern style coach, but bringing some of the older elements into the game, into the new game. When you look at the game now, where it is to where it was when you were a player, what do you think is the one change that has definitely benefited football? Is it nutrition? Is it the sports science? Is it the GPS trackers? What's the one thing that...
Well, I've got, it's all of them.
Yeah.
It's all of them. And I've got to be honest here, dare I say it, VAR? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But no, I think it's all of them, you're saying, because at the end of the day, they all help to make this game as best as it can be, and it is different. It's much. That's why I find it difficult to compare, because football then to now was totally different in terms of the pitches, all the things you meant, the sports science, the nutrition, the analytics that are in it. You know, so I think all things that make them better. The only thing I would say is that you got to be careful that you have to maintain a balance.
Yeah.
You know, so all them things you mentioned before, they're fine as an aid, as a tool to help you as a coach.
Yeah.
But really, at some point, it's got to be your gut instinct. It's got to be you that makes the decision. Yeah. I like the NFL. I love the NFL. And there's a big controversy going on at the moment about analytics. Is it taking over the actual judgmental side of coaches, which makes coaches good or bad?
Yeah.
Quite often, their gut instincts, making a judgment, making a call on a crucial moment, a crucial play, a crucial down in the NFL. Like a crucial, as you just mentioned there, Bob Paisley doing that. Now, the analytics wouldn't have told them to do that.
No.
They wouldn't have informed, by the way, we've got to put Sammy Lee on somebody. They wouldn't have done that.
No.
That was just his gut instinct. So all these things that make it better, as you say, or certainly different, they're there to help, but not to rule and not to be the only thing that you go by. So I can't just put it down to one thing. It's all of them together.
Yeah.
But again, it's still down to the coach, because at the end of the day, the coach has to make that decision.
Yeah.
The buck stops at his door.
At the coach's door. That's one of the things that we do, the professional player pathway. We have 7 pillars to the programme. One of them is GPS, one of them is nutrition, one of them is match analysis, and we do individual personalised match analysis, which I believe is a game changer.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We drive out objectives, and this is one of the big things, is that I was reading a comment from Carlo Ancelotti this morning.
Terrific guy.
And I told you I'd done a bit of work with him. I was fortunate at PSG, and he said one of the biggest problems with the coaches who are struggling nowadays, there's a lot of successful ones, he said, but they're taking the creativity away from the players. They're not letting the players do what they want to do on the pitch.
Not letting them express themselves.
And there's a guy on the podcast arguing against Carlo Ancelotti, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, can you argue against Carlo Ancelotti?
I'm sure Carlo would love that.
Yeah.
Because one thing for sure, Carlo would have an answer for that.
Yeah.
I was very, very fortunate to say, I mentioned luck before, it played a big part in my life. But when Carlo was here, I went out for dinner with him a couple of times. The restaurant I mentioned to, Vincenzo's, we get along here, folks, it's the best. But you listen to him, he's fantastic. And the good thing about Carlo as well is he also listens.
Yeah.
He also listens, you know, at the end of the day, for me, as I said before, be a sponge, listen. And for someone who's achieved as much as what he has, the fact that he's actually listening to me and we could have a conversation. And it was wondrous for me, and that's why he won't mind putting somebody arguing with him, because he'll have an answer.
Yeah,
he'll have an answer. And I think you're right. I think I hate to take creativity away from anybody.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I say about enthusiasm, because for me, it's like another thing I'd always want to give them. I always want to give the player ownership.
Yeah.
Always want to give the player ownership, because for me, if you've got ownership, you've also got accountability then.
Yeah.
So rather than me, and I made a mistake, I'll be perfectly honest with you, when I went from being an assistant to being a head coach, and for all the reasons you mentioned before, I wanted it to be my way or the highway.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was the highway for me,
yeah.
you know, because I lost my job after it. And it was quite strange, because all the things I'd been as an assistant, you know, flexible, listening, you know, durable, I suddenly, when I became that head coach, I changed.
Yeah.
I changed, and I wasn't me. And that was obvious to everybody. I used to always wear tracksuits. I guess the head coach's gig, I suddenly put a suit on.
Yeah.
You put a suit on, and I'll never forget going to West Ham, and got the suit on, and they were singing "Your Suit from Matalan," you know, things like that. Which, nothing wrong with suits from Matalan, by the way, fantastic, but it was just noticeable. So not only had I changed my attire, I actually changed my way of doing things, which it was destined to fail.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? It's one of the big things that we speak about to the players. If you practice and you're consistent at one thing for a long period of time, you're going to be really good at it. And we give a really great example of, like, Michael Jordan in basketball. He was a legend, and then he went into baseball, and there was no surprises. He didn't really do that good at it, and he knew he had to do a U-turn quickly and get back to basketball. For you, is it when you realised that probably the first team head role wasn't for you? Did you find, was it good as well, like a learning curve that you actually then recognised?
For sure, without a shadow of a doubt. And see, back in the way it says you embark upon your coaching journey, your qualification journey, it's like each stepping stones. And I think we all think at the end of it is to be a head coach.
Yeah.
I think that was my aim, to be a head coach. But I say to you, I found out very quickly that it wasn't for me. And I make no bones about it now. People say, you know, well, you know, you may get another chance. But Howard Wilkinson is a fantastic guy, very, very well respected coach. He once said to me, he said, if you get a modicum of success in your first job, first gig, then you'll be on that, you know, merry-go-round.
You're on the wheel.
Yeah, the wheel. You fall out of one job into another job, blah, blah, blah. And he was right. In as much as that, I didn't have that success. So as a result, I'd never get asked about being a head coach. I got asked about being an assistant.
Yeah.
And the good thing about that as well, if you think about it, they know now if it's an assistant that I'm not after their job.
Yeah.
I'm not after their job.
I'm just there to help.
I'm just there to help. Yeah. I'm there to be his aide, his assistant, as an assistant coach, an assistant manager. And for me, the people I've been with, they've known that. And when you're part of a team, there has to be an element of trust.
Yeah.
Element of trust in this game of ours. And I have to say to you, the people I've worked with, your Sam Allardyce's, your Sven-Goran Eriksson's, your Rafa Benitez, they know that I'm not after their job.
Yeah.
I just want to be the best I can be. I want the best for this football club where I'm at the time, or the national side. So when you have that trust, that bond, and honestly, Big Sam and myself, we could be in a room. We used to have the war room. We could be in a room like that, and we'd argue like man and wife.
Yeah.
Honestly, husband and wife. Sorry, we'd argue like husband and wife. 4 or 5 other people in there, but he respected that. As you said before, Carlo wouldn't mind. Exactly. Carlo wouldn't mind people challenging him.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no sycophants in that room that we had. You know, so once again, you get 4 or 5 different views. It's then up to the main man to decide which one he wants to go with.
Yeah.
And you know, the moment the main man, which is the head coach, decides that, once we leave that door, we're all in agreement. We're all on the same page.
Yeah.
We've had our discussions. We've had our disputes. We've had our arguments. We've all put our points of view forward. He's had 4, 5, 6 different points of view. Some of them were the same.
Yeah.
You know, some of them were in agreement. So my point being is that once you leave that, he was able to filter that, decide, because he's the main man. Once we leave there,
and then you're out the door.
We're out the door. We all know we're on the same page, rowing in the same direction.
It's funny, we were talking on one of our previous podcasts, and we were talking about sometimes it's better to have like a well-oiled ship, and exactly that, all the cogs, all the wheels are working. I think a great example of that at the moment, and a lot of people are missing it, is Brighton, because they keep saying, you know, like it was Chris Sutton, who I know was a very, very good coach, but then everyone's really surprised that they kicked on when the next coach come in, Potter. And then the same again, it's like now they're raving about De Zerbi, and yeah, great coach again, but there'd be no surprise if he moves on to other jobs or roles. Brighton are just kicking along because of the foundation.
With the foundation, we've got a great guy in charge, Paul Barber.
Yeah.
Terrific, you know. Davy Weir's down there still, but he was a fantastic guy. He used to play at Everton. You know, I think he's part of, I think he's head of football, you know, so they've got a fantastic thing in place. It's like when Bill Shankly resigned in '74, people thought, well, what's going to happen to great Bill Shankly? Yeah. Like, you know, why has he left? And think about what I said before. He resigned, and I signed on the 7th of June. He resigned on the 18th. And I thought he'd resign because I joined. Honestly, I've been living on that black cloud all my life, you know. But my point being, but when you then go there, you think, well, I was just going to keep on going. But he had fantastic people in place. He had Bob Paisley, Joe Fagan, Ronnie Moran, Tom Saunders, who I mentioned before, John Bennett, who's the youth manager. It more or less smooth. The transition was smooth, you know, and seamless. You know, and that's just down to the fact that he brought the right people in.
Yeah. It's funny, I get a lot of people reach out to me in Australia because obviously they know I'm from Liverpool fan, I've worked in football, and since Klopp announced he was leaving, everyone's been hitting me up. Who's it going to be? Who's going to come in? Oh, it's going to go backwards. It's going to go back to the early 90s, late 80s. It's going to... And I'm like, no, trust me, they've installed a lot of good things over the years. And is it your belief that they're in good hands regardless?
I think so. I mean, it was a shock to me.
Yeah.
It was a shock to me, and you know, and I think, you know, the guy, we knew it was going to come at some time, just didn't think it was going to be now. No. You know, and I think what's even more, you know, shocking is the fact that they're all going with him, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, he's not handing it over to Pep Pepman, who seems to be a fantastic coach.
Yeah.
You know, I know of him, he is a fantastic coach. You know, he takes an awful lot of the training sessions, but he's not going to be there. So it's going to be a total, complete change, and I don't know who that one's going to be.
Yeah. There's a lot of... I mean, we had a guy I'm really good friends with, a Dutch international called Q Jallians, and he played with Emile Heskey in Newcastle in Australia. And Q's very good friends with Pep, and he's made it quite common that he's really got aspirations to go on and become a first team coach. And I think his journey is going to be maybe going on to one of them, and then with a view maybe, who knows, maybe coming back to Liverpool. But who would you like to see?
Well, right, I was about to say, whoever is going to take over, it is going to be a difficult task.
Yeah.
Because as much as we said behind the scenes, how, you know, it's been very, very, very well run.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be difficult because once you take over from this guy, you know, it's hard. What I will say to you, the people like Alex Inglethorpe and the people in the academy, they've done fantastic. Because look at all these young lads coming through.
It's unbelievable.
You know, we've got this list of injuries, and Liverpool are not complaining about it. No. They're just saying, well, okay, we've got these. We'll play with what we've got.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, it's fun. This crop that seems to be coming through. It's like everything else. Potential. What potential needs is opportunity.
Yeah.
And you don't always, at the top level, you don't always get the opportunities.
Yeah.
Again, I mentioned before, luck. Now, some of these guys are quite lucky in as much as that we've got so many injuries. Yeah. Liverpool Football Club aren't lucky because of the injuries. But these young guys are now who've got potential, and now getting the opportunity to step up and prove and show and illustrate and demonstrate whether they're good enough.
Yeah, I was with a guy who's not involved in football, but he's a bit of a business entrepreneur, and I was very fortunate to speak on Richard Branson's stage in December. And this guy I met, he said, if you understand this premise, you never lose in life, because even when you think you're losing, you're actually gaining something, you're learning. And I think for Liverpool at the moment, with the amount of injuries they've got, I think these youngsters who are getting an opportunity are actually showing.
Without a doubt.
You know, I even heard Jurgen Klopp talking about young Kwanzaa, Conor Bradley, I mean...
Young McConnell. Young McConnell stepped into the side against Norwich. I thought, wow.
Didn't even look out of place.
Oh, wow. I thought, wow. And then he comes on the other day. You know, because I've been very impressed with McAllister and Endo, and they really have. Curtis Jones has improved no end. The young guy, Harvey Elliott.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I think he's been used as an impact player, and I know he won't like that, but Harvey's a terrific player.
Yeah.
And when he had the full game the other day, took a bit of maybe as the first half, the whole team was struggling, to be honest with you. But look the way he developed into the second half, you know, and I think that's huge for Liverpool Football Club.
Hey everyone, we are coming around every major city in Australia over the next 12 months. We have got free objective football testing going on, guys. It's for boys and girls aged 10 all the way through to 18 years of age. The objective testing is quite simple. We'll put you through our 6 tests and I'll give you your results: physical, technical and tactical. And also, we're going to choose 16 winners to join us on an all expenses paid trip to Europe in 2024 and also 2025. Guys, what have you got to lose? Nothing. It's free to sign up. You get free objective testing and you'll get a free feedback, and maybe you'll be joining me at the Santiago Bernabeu in 2024 or 25.
The next bit I was going to get onto was about your ideas around how you build resilience in players, and I think when we look at Liverpool as a team this year, resilience has been on show all season, because how many times we've been behind, but as a fan I don't even get nervous watching it, because you're just like, they've got it, it's okay, they just stay true to the values. How do you, and how have you installed that as a coach over here?
Well, it's a great question, man. I've got to be honest with you. I feel the best way of getting resilience is by challenge.
Yeah.
By challenge, and I can only take it from my own experiences. I repeat, I was challenged every day. Just leaving here to get on the bus to go to Anfield, where we got changed. We used to go walk down to get the 14C in Islington, to go to Upbreck Road, walk along Oakfield Road to get into, because we used to change our Anfield every day then, and they got a bus down to Melwood. But once you stepped into Anfield, you were challenged every day, and I think that. And by the way, a lot of people couldn't cope with that challenge.
No.
A lot of better players than me fell by the wayside. By being challenged every day, you can engender resilience. It's not easy, as I said, and it requires an awful lot of application. As I mentioned before, a lot of players fell by the wayside because they never had the determination, the attitude, the support mechanism which I have, i.e. in family and friends. But I believe that the way you can develop resilience is by challenging people every day.
Yeah, just keep them challenged.
Keep them challenged, and challenges that they can succeed at. You don't want to give them unrealistic challenges that they fail every day. These are challenges that they can accept, they can take on and overcome them.
When we're speaking to our young players or even parents in all around the globe, we work globally with a lot of players we've got the world's first remotely based program, and it's phenomenal. What's one of the tips you could give a player or a family of a player to help them on the journey?
Well, again, there's many, but all I would say to you is that as a parent, if you and your son or daughter go to a coach, let the coach coach.
Yeah. Let
the coach coach, please. I understand. Always be supportive. Always be their sounding board, if you like. But if you're going to hand your kid over, whether it be a boy or a girl, if you're going to entrust your children to these coaches, let them coach.
Let them coach.
Let them coach, because they're there for a reason. At the end of the day, they're the good coaches or bad coaches, but my point being, whoever has recruited them deems them to be good enough to be able to coach at that particular club or institution or whatever. So for me, support your kid, be there for them whenever they want, be their sounding board, but let the coach coach, let the kids develop, let them develop at their own pace. I've never tried to force my boys to do anything. I've been there for them, whatever, good and bad, but for me, I've let him follow his own path, if you like.
Make his own mistakes.
Make his own mistakes. Be successful at his own, but I've tried never to put too much pressure on him, because at the end there's enough pressures on kids these days, social media and whatever. We all know about it, but for me, support, don't pressurise, and let the coaches coach.
That's a great tip, and I think for all of our parents listening, I think it's a good one. I think we get a little bit carried away in Australia, and it's a hard dynamic in Australia because unfortunately football is a fee for service. So even if you're playing at the top level in Australia, unfortunately you've got to pay for it, and the fees are around $3,000 to $4,000 a year, which is quite expensive, and it's become a little bit of an elitist sport. What we're doing with our programs is every touch point with us is free, and we have scholarships with our programs.
So you're running the program to everybody.
Wow. And that's our real aims and goals and visions. A little bit about from a coach's lens, and we talk about development on the pitch. How big and how important do you think it is? And this is a question from one of our parents, by the way, as well. So thank you for sending that one in. How important is it to develop players off the park as well?
As much as. As much as. And I think football clubs, football institutions, we have a duty of care. We're bringing people in, kids, girls or boys. We need to make sure that we develop them as people as well, as persons as well. So I always want, I mentioned before about being a better version of himself when you leave every training session. But once you leave the facility, for me, I'm hoping that with my help, they become not only better as a footballer, but as a person as well. As a person. I think that's as huge, as crucial as developing them as a player. Because, again, I'll revert back to the discussion before, 99.5% don't make it.
Yeah.
So, again, that could be an element to look. It could be someone that doesn't like them or whatever. But one thing's for sure, 100% of them people can be better people once they leave the facility.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd aim for. Should be 100% once they leave, whichever facilities they're in, professional, non-professional, they should be better people. And I think that's incumbent upon us as coaches.
Yeah.
When they're our charges, when they're in our care, we need to make sure that they are better people every single day they leave that facility.
Yeah. It's funny you said, I remember being in my early 20s, just before I went off to the US to go coaching and working in a college system. And I remember going out on a weekend with the boys, and we seen on a couple of occasions Steven Gerrard, Xabi Alonso out together. But one thing that really stood out to me and was a testament, I think, to why they were so good on the park, you would see them with bottles of water. They were out, but they were drinking water.
Yeah.
And I think that was around that time when I think the game started to change.
Well, that's one of the things we were talking about before, the change in the game. And I have to say to you, talking about nutrition, health, diet and what have you. Back in our day, I'm not condoling it, but it was a drinking culture, Everyone did it. But all I will say to you is that now when you say things have changed, and also what that does too with the nutrition and with the water, it adds longevity to their career.
Oh yeah.
So longevity to their career with the contracts that they're in now, fantastic.
It's amazing,
and so it should be.
Yeah.
So it should be. So with the advent of nutrition, sports science, you're getting longevity in your career, and that can only help.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, you can use him as a great example, but you even look at Ronaldo, and I was looking at a picture of him the other day with his son in the gym, and he's pushing 40, and he still looks good.
Well, Jamie Milner.
Oh yeah,
Milner for I say to you,
Mr. Vinto.
Well, just brilliant. Jordan Anderson. I mentioned these guys because there are guys here, but you're right, Ronaldo, your Messi of this world. It's no coincidence that they've had longevity in their career, because they look after themselves. They realise that the wealth that it can bring them as well. And it's life changing, because you can help your family all the way through. But in order for that to happen, you have to have a good career. And if you got a long career, by drinking the right fluids, by eating the right food.
Yeah.
Applying the sports science, which is there for us all now, it can only benefit you as a person.
Yeah. One of the tests that we do on the professional player pathway, and it's been a game changer, I've followed all the different study papers. I've done all the UEFA coaching badges. I've done all the Youth Award badges. One thing that didn't sit right with me a couple of years ago, and it was the nutrition and the nutritionists we had in at Leicester City, and they were amazing people, but it would be 40% carbs, 40% protein, 20% fats. And then I met this one guy at Leicester City who come out of Loughborough Uni, and he changed it all for me. And he said, Ray, you've got to look at this. He said, you drive a car and it's a diesel. What happens if you put petrol in it?
Yeah,
he said, it stalls, it breaks.
Yeah.
He goes, so Sammy Lee to Raymond's Wood, completely different
totally
people.
Different.
You might be able to eat bread, I can't eat
different
bread.
metabolism, different, as you can see. Yeah.
I think Mum and Dad put me in a grow bag when I was younger.
I had to grow bag, I think.
But the point I was getting to, I was then privy to this, what they were doing at Leicester City, and there was no surprises to me why they went on and won a Premier League, but they were doing DNA testing. So they were taking hair samples. And when they were taking a hair sample, it was getting sent off to a lab, and it was telling the team and the club what intolerances players have. If it come up on the blacklist, it was fine. If it come up on the red list, it was an intolerance. And the big thing it was causing, you know the importance of this, especially for like working for England and that, it was causing inflammation in the body. And it's taking your digestive system longer. So all of a sudden we then knew, we now can get this test done, and we're putting the right fuel in the car. It might only give you that extra 5%, but that's...
Fine margins.
Yeah.
Fine margins. And I have to say to you, Ray, I worked with a guy who, for me, never gets the credit he deserves, because he was such an innovative manager, which is Sam Allardyce. Back in the day, he had mood rooms, he had prayer rooms. When any player come in, we give them what was called the Bolton Bible. And basically because each and everyone's different.
Yeah.
Each and everyone's different cultures, different religions, different ethnicities, and he knew that. I mean, and he used to be introduced. We show him where the nearest mosque was. If they're Muslim, we show him where the nearest church was.
Yeah.
And what he also, if you think about it, some of the players he had, a lot of them were on Ramadan.
Yeah.
You know, when you have to fast.
Yeah.
That takes a massive impact on your body. So he knew then certain times, with the premium times, the optimum times that they could eat and couldn't eat, and what to give them then.
Yeah.
He studied all that. He was never ever given the credit he deserves.
I'll be honest, he's someone I always loved, and I think we won't go into it, but the whole England situation, I just think it was the biggest loss ever to England, because between you and me, I think he's a great coach, and I love him, and I think he's a good person, Gareth Southgate. However, I think Allardyce should have had a World Cup in the bag by now. 100% believe that.
Well, listen, as you say, I like Gareth. I like Gareth a lot. You know, he's a fantastic coach. He's a fantastic manager. And I have to say to you, things could have been different with Sam. It would have been different for sure, for a number of reasons. But I think Gareth will take these guys on. They'll win
I think so.
They'll win a major trophy. I've got to be honest with you. I like, and Gareth's got a fantastic assistant alongside him, Stevie Holland. Honestly, fantastic coach.
He was at Chelsea.
He's honestly a lovely guy. Fantastic. He wants to impart his knowledge on everybody. You know, he's very open. So Gareth's got a good team. He's got a good goalkeeper coach as well. You know, Marge, who used to work with us. You know, fantastic guy. But listen, I don't want to be to be criticising Gareth at all. No. But what I will say to you, obviously it had been different, but for a number of reasons with Sam in charge, and I know it was because obviously I was there with him. It was very hurtful for what happened to him.
Yeah,
very
it was. I think for the failures that, I wouldn't say failures, but I think I've looked at it from a coaching point of view. I really felt like there was a couple of key critical areas where they should have won Euros and a World Cup, but I think Gareth is going to be a better coach for that, and I've said it, and I'll be honest, I hold my hands up. I'm not overly a big England person, being from Liverpool. I've always been a big club man, but I truly believe England's are going to go on and win the next World Cup in Europe.
Well, I would hope so. And one thing for sure, one thing that I know for a fact is that what Gareth did is that we talked about youngsters coming through before. I know for a fact Gareth brought some of these youngsters too that I don't think we would have, because he knew them, because he'd been with them under 21s, you know, so he knew them, and some of them had been given their opportunity, and as I said before, they flourished. You know, and sometimes maybe not just a little bit of youth, inexperience, naivety, which you just fell short. Yeah. But I agree for me, I think he'll get them onto a major tournament very, very soon.
Yeah. We're nearly finished with this with the podcast. We've just got a couple of minutes to go, but just a little bit, I think, for our listeners and followers, and we've got a lot of football fans and Liverpool fans all around the world. What are you up to at the moment, Sammy, and what's next for the future for you?
I don't know what's next, you know, because football it changes so quickly. But what I've been doing, I've been very proud to do and very pleased to do, is the League Managers Association, the LMA. They've introduced, about 3 or 4 years ago, we were the inaugural group, and what they do is it's a mentoring program.
Wow.
So basically what I do, I go along and mentor young coaches. You know, you're talking about, because they're not all Klopps, they're not all Guardiolas, they don't all have the facilities that these guys have, you know, they're not Ancelottis. And these guys, a lot of them are young British coaches, although a lot of foreign coaches are part of it as well. And because I speak a couple of languages, a lot of my charges have been foreign coaches. But my point being is that these young coaches, you know, it's their first gig, it's their first time, they want, and you know, they want to take the position, you know, because they're desperate to be that man. Yeah. And really, they're not always great circumstances. They don't always have great, in fact, they very rarely have great facilities. Yeah. And it's a hard gig. And also, it's like everything else, at the end of the day, these managers, because they don't have the resources that an awful lot of these clubs have, who do they go to? Who do they turn to? Yeah. Do they take it home, take it out on the wife and the kids? You know, because it's a lonely life as a head coach. Because as I said before, I failed at it. Yeah. I failed at it. You know, but these guys who are there, you know, as an assistant, I could always go to my main man. Yeah. I go to other people. But as a head coach, who do you go to?
Who do you go to, yeah.
And particularly these young ones. And so basically the LMA have started this mentoring program, which has been fantastic. Yeah. And all we're there to do is to help. Yeah, to listen, support, to support, to be the sounding board. If they want to kick off on somebody, kick off on me rather than your assistant or the wife or the partner whenever they go home. So it's fantastic. It keeps me involved in the game. You get out and see all these, you know, these new coaches, these up and coming coaches. You get an awful lot along to all the seminars as well, which are fantastic. Yeah. The LMA seminars are fantastic. They're very, very rewarding. They're very informative, very accessible. Yeah. You know, and for me, it's been a blessing for me.
Yeah.
You know, I say to be involved in this. And once again, I can only, and they do. So it's called the League Managers Association, but they have the League Coaches Association now. So assistant managers and coaches can join and get all the benefits of the LMA, the League Managers Association, which hitherto hadn't been the case.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of touch points with the LMA over the years, but just they've got a similar model in Australia, and it's amazing. I think it's so important. I think
crucial
support. It's
crucial
in anything. So you're not saying your name's not out the hat for any future jobs, assistant coach roles, first team coach roles?
I'd never shut the door, because it's I love it.
Yeah,
I love it, and it kills me that I can't do it, or I'm not doing it at the moment. But never say never. And if an opportunity came up, then as long as it was the right opportunity, as long as the people thought that I could help them, then I'd love to go in and assist. Yeah.
So to touch on, I was actually going to ask this question, but I believe you do speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and any other languages?
No, well, because it's amazing. Because Rafa Benitez once said to me, right? He said, "You're the only person I know who speaks 2 languages badly." English and Spanish, you know. So, but it's quite strange, because I worked with Ronald Koeman, and he was at the game the other night. And he came up and had a glass of wine with us. So we both worked together at Southampton.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, because when I first got here, he phoned me. He'd been in a retreat over in Holland. He just dove in. He led himself into this situation, a retreat where he wanted to just concentrate on English, coming into this new position. So he phoned me, and after that, right, after I accepted the position of him, when we got together, we used to speak in Spanish, because he couldn't understand my English. So we used to converse in Spanish, because my Spanish is better than my English.
Yeah. I've been in Australia on and off for 18 years, and I'll go out with my girls, and the most common word said to me is what? I get it all the time in Australia. And then I have to play on my English-American accent. When I lived in the US, I used to tone it down a little bit. And it's so funny, and it's so true. And I try and educate people in Australia who've never been in the UK, like every 30 minutes is a different language, and it's true.
Well, I love the fact that people can accept just being to Norway, and the young girl, same age as my granddaughter, and she speaks English, and she lives here, but you know, we were back over in Norway, and the way she just dipped in and out of Norwegian and English, it's just brilliant. It amazed me. It amazed me. I just thought, wow, because as I said, we said at the start of the show, right, travel for me is everything. I think it's so educational. Yeah. You know, getting to be involved with different cultures, different people, different ways of life. Fantastic.
Well, that's just to finish off, we're hopefully going to be bringing out some of the legends of the game. Hopefully we can crack a deal to try and get you across, because I know Australia would love to have you and a few of the ex-Liverpool England stars over to Australia. So if we could make that happen, would you like to come and join us?
It'd be a pleasure, it'd be an honour, and I promise you I'll improve my English by then, folks, all right? So you can understand me. Seriously, I went out there as part of the national team as a player, and as always, you don't get to see any of it. Yeah. You know, it's the football triangle, airport, hotel, ground, and that's all I've seen. Yeah. So I'd love to go out there and experience the people.
Australia's an amazing place all around, but we're very fortunate. We live on the East Coast. We've got Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. We do a lot of work in Adelaide and Perth, but the plans are for our followers and listeners, watch this space. We're going to be bringing probably one of the biggest football and showcases towards the end of this year, where we get the likes of Sammy and possibly the likes of Phil Thompson, and we've got a bit of exciting news over one or two other players as well. So a big thank you from me, Raymond Wood, and Euro Football Star, and also to Sammy for joining us.
Brilliant. And can I just say thank you very much, and be a sponge. Be a sponge.
Thank you. So guys, again, remember to help us keep this show for free and keep publishing it online, so you can get all this invaluable information from some of the best people who've been involved in football and are still involved in football. Can you like, can you comment, and can you subscribe? So what a week we've had. We've had Emile Heskey, we've had Phil Thompson, and we've had Sammy Lee, and we've got some more superstars coming up in the next few weeks. A big thank you from me at the Raymond Wood Podcast, and we look forward to speaking to you next week.
Cheers, Ray. Cheers, folks.
Thanks, mate. That was amazing.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.